Across the country, more and more on the left are turning toward harassment and violence as a political tool. In Washington, a Secret Service officer was injured this past Saturday after he was attacked by a man following a pro-immigration rally. In the state of Nebraska, somebody smashed the window of a Republican office with a brick and then spray painted the phrase "Abolish ICE." Back in Washington, a lunatic teacher at the overpriced Sidwell Friends School, home of the children of many presidents, harassed EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt at a restaurant. And then today, this morning, went on MSNBC wearing a shirt that read, quote, "Your founding fathers owned slaves." In other words, this is a terrible country. This is someone who's teaching your kids, or not yours, but the kids of people in Washington who can afford to send their children there. Chadwick Moore is a journalist. He is a close observer of all of this, and he joins us now. Chadwick Moore is someone who was on the left fairly recently and now is not. Have you noticed, since you watch carefully, a progression where progressives are defending things, doing things they would not have a year ago?
Yeah, it seems that they are hankering for a civil war, and which would be very ill-advised considering we have all the guns as well as the market on the world's most valuable resource, which is toxic masculinity. But the open calls for violence against Trump supporters, the open calls, we just had Michelle Wolf, I believe on her Netflix show, just said this is not a time to be civil. You should be going after these people. This open rhetoric of calling for violence is very interesting. And Michelle Wolf's an interesting character because comedy is a great bellwether for what's happening in society. And if you look at the great comedians, American comedians, they are famous and we know them because they allow us to laugh at ourselves. They allow us to laugh at each other. They speak universal truths in the most effective way possible, which is through humor. You don't have that anymore in comedy on the left. You have somebody like Michelle Wolf who basically spreads, she has hateful ideology, hateful rhetoric. She's not funny. And this is the same with all comedians on the left. They are essentially, people aren't laughing because they're funny. They're laughing out of cruelty, not mirth. Because you can tell how emotionally damaged these people are basically by the results of the election. And they just want to hear the ideas espoused back to them. It's interesting that what could really come from this, I don't see how the Democratic Party really repairs itself after this, after Maxine Waters' comments, after all of this open violence. What you may see, and what might actually be the best thing for them, is for them to completely crash and burn, for them to just give up on 2020, maybe even 2024, in order to reinvent themselves. That's maybe when they become even more dangerous than they are now.
But is there look, if there was a Republican member of Congress who stood up and said, next time you see someone you disagree with, assemble a mob of people and go confront and harass that person. I'd like to think I would be honest enough to say, you know what, that's totally over the line. That's just wrong. You're not seeing that response to Maxine Waters from our own party. Are there any adults left in the leadership of the Democratic Party? And will they be standing up soon to calm what is clearly becoming out of control?
I don't see any leaders on the Democratic, on the side of any adults in the room. I don't, whoever does step up to do that and does go against the party, that might be the new face of the party, something they desperately need. But they are openly spreading this rhetoric. They are a wounded animal is most dangerous when it's injured. A wild animal is most dangerous when it's injured, and that's what you're seeing here. They are wounded and they're frightened and they're lashing out. I don't know.
So what is the effect on you? So you live, again, you were until pretty recently on the left. I think you live in a very liberal neighborhood. You come on Fox and give opinions that are not popular in your neighborhood. What's happened to your life? I've been shouted out of public places before. I went on your show to talk about that once. Personal life, it's very difficult. Although I will say, I really can't go to many places. If I go to a bar or something without meeting someone who, after a stranger, after a conversation, I discovered that they are very much questioning leftism. They're very secretly, they know it's all kind of a loaded bull. They know it doesn't make any sense. But of course, they're too frightened to stand up against the party. They're too frightened of what will happen to them personally. They will lose all of their friends. They may lose their jobs. They may lose family members if they speak up. I think a lot of people are just scared. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, of course they're scared. We're in the middle of some kind of cultural revolution. If we can just make it to the other side, all will be well. Chadwick Moore, good luck.
Thank you.